You ever get that feeling deep in your gut that the world could change in a single moment? Not the slow, creeping kind of change, but the kind that comes with a blinding flash, a pressure wave that rattles your teeth, and a sky that turns a color you've never seen before. That's the moment you realize all the rules you thought you knew about safety, distance, and survival just got rewritten by physics. And suddenly, the question that matters most isn't what happened or who did it, it's how far is safe from nuclear fallout. And here's the part nobody ever really explains. They give you circles on a map or tell you to get inside. But the real answer is a lot messier, a lot scarier, and a lot more mathematical than anyone wants to admit. Let's start with the basics, because if you're going to survive, you need to know what you're up against. When a nuclear weapon detonates, it's not just the blast and the fireball you have to worry about. The real killer, the one that lingers, is the radioactive dust and debris, fallout. Fallout is what happens when the explosion vaporizes everything in its path, earth, buildings, cars, people, and sucks it up into the mushroom cloud. That cloud rises miles into the sky, and as it cools, all that radioactive material starts to drift back down, carried by the wind, settling on everything it touches. It's invisible, tasteless, and it doesn't care if you're ready or not. Fallout is the ultimate equalizer. But here's the first thing nobody tells you. Fallout doesn't fall in a neat circle. It follows the wind, and the wind is a trickster. If you're upwind, you might be safe just a few miles out. Downwind, you could be in the danger zone 100 miles away. The classic fallout pattern is a long, narrow plume stretching downwind from ground zero. The heaviest fallout lands within the first 20 miles, but dangerous levels can extend 100 miles or more. Rain can make it worse, washing fallout out of the sky and concentrating it in hotspots. If you see rain after a blast, get inside and stay there. Wet fallout is stickier, deadlier, and harder to avoid. Let's talk numbers, because the numbers are what save you. The 7-10 rule is the backbone of fallout survival. For every 7-fold increase in time after the blast, the radiation drops by a factor of 10. So if the fallout is at 1,000 rads per hour right after detonation, it'll be 100 rads per hour after 7 hours and 10 rads per hour after 49 hours. But here's the catch. 1,000 rads per hour is instantly lethal. 100 rads per hour will kill you in a day or two. Even 10 rads per hour is enough to make you sick, ruin your immune system, and shorten your life. This is an approximate rule of thumb per FEMA and DHS, and it's your best friend for the first 2 weeks. But let's not just repeat the rule. Let's apply it. Imagine you're 10 miles downwind from a 100 kiloton ground burst. The initial fallout could hit within 30 minutes, and the radiation outside could spike to hundreds of rads per hour. If you get inside, into a basement or a subway tunnel, you can cut your exposure by 90% or more. That's not just theory. FEMA's nuclear attack survival guides and Chernobyl survivor accounts back this up. The first 24 hours are the most dangerous. If you can wait it out, the numbers drop fast. But if you step outside too soon, even for a few minutes, you could get a lethal dose. That's why the best move is to hunker down, ration your supplies, and let the math work for you. What if you don't have a perfect shelter? Maybe you're in a wooden house, or worse, stuck in your car. Here's where improvisation saves lives. Stack anything dense, books, water jugs, furniture, against the walls and over your head. The goal is to create as many layers as possible between you and the outside. Even a few inches of books or water can make a difference. If you're in a car, get as low as possible. Cover the windows with anything you have, and wait for the fallout to settle. This isn't just field experience. It's straight out of Cold War civil defense manuals and tested in real-world disasters. But let's not gloss over the silent killer, internal contamination. Fallout particles are tiny, but they pack a punch. Inhaling or ingesting even a small amount can deliver a concentrated dose to your lungs, stomach, or bones. That's why decontamination is non-negotiable. As soon as you get to shelter, strip off your outer clothes and seal them in a bag or container. Wash your skin and hair with soap and water. Don't scrub, just rinse. Pay special attention to your hair, nails, and any cuts or scrapes. If you don't have running water, use wet wipes, alcohol, or even clean dirt to wipe away particles. The goal is to get the fallout off your body before it gets inside. This is straight from CDC and Red Cross emergency guidelines. Let's pause for a second. What would you do if fallout started drifting down right now? Would you know where to go? Would you know how to seal a room or how long to wait before moving? These aren't just hypotheticals. In Hiroshima, survivors who hid in basements or behind thick walls had dramatically higher survival rates. In Chernobyl, workers who improvised with whatever shielding they could find bought themselves precious hours. The lesson: don't freeze. Act, adapt, and use whatever you have. Fallout settles on everything. If you have to go outside, wait as long as you can, ideally 48 to 72 hours. When you do, cover up completely. Wear a hat, gloves, long sleeves, and pants. When you come back in, strip off your outer clothes and leave them outside. Wash yourself thoroughly, especially your hair. Fallout particles stick to hair and skin and can keep irradiating you for hours. Water from a covered well or sealed container is safe. Open water, ponds, rivers, rain barrels can be contaminated. If you have to drink it, filter it through cloth to remove particles, then let it sit so the fallout settles to the bottom. Pour off the top and avoid the sediment. According to the World Health Organization, this method can reduce your risk, but it's not perfect, so always prioritize sealed sources. Let's get into the weeds of radiation sickness, because this is where the numbers get personal. The symptoms come in waves. At 100 rads, you'll feel nauseous, maybe vomit, but you'll probably recover. At 200 rads, the vomiting gets worse, and you'll start to feel weak, dizzy, and confused. At 400 rads, you're in serious trouble. Diarrhea, bleeding, hair loss, and a high risk of infection. Above 600 rads, survival is unlikely without medical care. The cruel part is that there's often a walking ghost phase, a few days where you feel better before the real damage sets in. That's why it's so important to minimize your dose from the start. Every rad counts. But let's say you make it through the first week. The world outside is quieter, the radiation levels are dropping, and you're starting to think about the future. Here's where the math shifts from survival to recovery. The land will be patchy. Some areas will be relatively clean, others dangerously hot. If you have a Geiger counter, use it to map out safe zones. If you don't, look for clues. Places where rain has washed away dust, places upwind or uphill from ground zero, buildings with thick walls and few windows. Avoid low-lying areas, ditches, and places where dust has collected. The fallout will be most concentrated in these spots. Now let's talk about rebuilding. The soil will be contaminated, especially the top few inches. If you have to grow food, use raised beds with clean soil, or containers if you have them. Root vegetables are riskier than fruits or grains because they absorb more radiation from the soil. If you have to hunt or fish, avoid animals that eat roots, mushrooms, or carrion. They concentrate radioactive isotopes in their bodies. Stick to animals that eat grass or leaves, and always skin and clean them thoroughly. This is not just practical field advice. It's echoed in post-Chernobyl and Fukushima agricultural studies. But what about the long-term health risks? Even if you avoid acute radiation sickness, there's still the risk of cancer, birth defects, and other long-term effects. The math here is grim. Every extra rad increases your risk, but the biggest danger is in the first few weeks. After that, the risk drops but never disappears. The best you can do is minimize your exposure, eat clean food, drink clean water, and avoid contaminated areas as much as possible. Let's get back to the question that started all this. How far is safe? The answer is, it's a moving target. The further you are from ground zero, the better your odds, but only if you're upwind, sheltered, and smart. The real safety comes from understanding the math, respecting the danger, and making the right choices at the right time. But let's not forget the human side of survival. The stress, the fear, the isolation. It's as deadly as the radiation itself. The best way to fight it is with connection. Talk to the people around you, share information, and support each other. Even a simple routine, meals, chores, rest, can make a huge difference. Keep your mind busy, your body moving, and your hope alive. In Chernobyl, survivors who kept busy, repairing, cleaning, planning, fared better than those who just waited. Hope is a weapon. Use it. Now, let's talk about the next phase, moving on. At some point, you'll have to leave your shelter, find new supplies, or reconnect with the outside world. Here's where the math gets tricky. The safest time to move is after 2 weeks, when the radiation has dropped to a fraction of its initial level. But if you have to move sooner, do it at night when the fallout has settled, and stick to high ground. Wear as much protective clothing as you can and avoid touching anything you don't have to. When you reach a new shelter, repeat the decontamination process. Strip, wash, and rest. But what if you have to cross a contaminated area? Here's a trick. Move quickly, don't stop, and don't sit down. The less time you spend in a hot zone, the lower your dose. If you have to rest, do it in the cleanest area you can find. Upwind, uphill, and away from dust or debris. When you're done, change clothes, wash up, and check yourself for symptoms. The math is simple. Time, distance, and shielding. The more you have of each, the better your odds. Let's talk about the tools you need. A Geiger counter is worth its weight in gold, but even a simple dosimeter can save your life. If you don't have one, you can improvise. Use a piece of photographic film, a salt substitute which contains potassium chloride, or even a homemade electroscope. None of these are perfect, but they're better than nothing. The key is to measure, record, and adapt. The math is always changing, and you need to keep up. But what about communication? In a nuclear event, the grid will likely be down, cell towers fried, and the internet a memory. Old school tools, AM/FM radios, shortwave, even walkie-talkies can be a lifeline. Listen for official updates, but don't trust everything you hear. Rumors spread faster than fallout, and bad information can be deadly. Trust your own measurements, your own eyes, and your own math. Now, let's get philosophical for a moment. Nuclear fallout is the ultimate test of human resilience. It's not just about surviving the blast, or the radiation, or the hunger. It's about surviving yourself, your fear, your doubt, your despair. The math can guide you, but it can't save you. Only you can do that. The real secret to survival isn't in the numbers. It's in your will to live, your ability to adapt, and your refusal to give up. But let's not get too sentimental. The world after a nuclear event is harsh, unforgiving, and dangerous. The rules have changed and the old certainties are gone, but the math remains. Time, distance, shielding. Measure, adapt, survive. That's the formula, and it works, if you respect it. So let's keep going, because the truth about nuclear fallout is that survival isn't a single decision. It's a chain of choices, each one stacking the odds a little more in your favor or against you. If you want to outlast the invisible storm, you need to understand not just the numbers, but the logic behind every move. Let's rewind and look at the safe distance myth from another angle, because this is where most people's plans fall apart. You've probably seen those old government maps, the ones with neat circumference circles. Danger zone, evacuation zone, you're fine here. But in reality, the fallout plume is a living thing, shaped by wind, weather, and terrain. According to FEMA and the Department of Energy, a 100 kiloton ground burst can create a lethal fallout plume stretching 50 to 100 miles downwind, but only a few miles wide. If the wind shifts, so does the danger. If it rains, the hot spots can pop up in places nobody expected. That's why in the real world, survivors don't trust maps. They trust measurements, and they trust their instincts. Let's get specific. Imagine you're 30 miles downwind from ground zero. The initial blast is a memory, the sky is heavy with dust, and you're in a basement with 2 feet of concrete overhead. According to the protection factor tables in old civil defense manuals, that setup can cut your radiation exposure by 90 to 99%. If the outside dose rate is 100 rads per hour, you're getting maybe 1 to 10 rads per hour inside. Still dangerous, but survivable, if you stay put. But if you panic, if you run outside to get further away, you could get a lethal dose in minutes. The math is cruel, but it's also fair. Time, distance, and shielding are your only friends. But what if you're caught outside when the fallout starts? Here's where practical experience and science meet. The first thing you do is cover your mouth and nose, cloth, a shirt, anything. Fallout is most dangerous when inhaled or swallowed. Next, move perpendicular to the wind, not directly away from the blast. The fallout plume is narrowest at the edges, so even a mile or two can make a huge difference. If you can find a ditch, a culvert, or even a low spot behind a hill, get in and cover up.
Dirt is your best friend. 6 inches of packed earth can cut gamma radiation by half, a foot by 90%. If you can't dig, pile up whatever you can. Logs, rocks, even trash. Every layer helps. This is field-tested advice, but it's also backed by the US Army's NBC, Nuclear, Biological, Chemical Survival Manuals. Now, let's talk about the 7-10 rule again, but this time, let's use it to make decisions. Say you're in a shelter, and your dosimeter reads 50 rads per hour right after the blast. After 7 hours, it'll be about 5 rads per hour. After 2 days, less than 1 rat per hour. That's when you can start thinking about moving, if you have to. But every hour you wait, the risk drops. The math is your clock. Don't let impatience kill you. But what about the stuff nobody ever talks about? Pets, for example. They're vulnerable too. Fallout sticks to fur, paws, and noses. If you have pets, keep them inside, wash them if they go out, and don't let them eat or drink anything that could be contaminated. Treat them like you would a child. Protect them, clean them, and keep them close. This isn't just compassion, it's survival. Pets can bring fallout into your shelter, raising your risk without you even knowing. Let's shift gears and talk about myths, because bad information is as deadly as radiation. Myth 1. If I can't see it, it can't hurt me. Wrong. Radiation is invisible, silent, and deadly. You won't feel it until it's too late. Myth 2. I'll just drive away from the blast. Maybe, if you're lucky and fast, but roads will be jammed, bridges out, and fallout moves faster than traffic. Myth 3. I'll wait for the government to help. In a major nuclear event, help may not come for days, weeks, or ever. You are your own first responder. According to the CDC and FEMA, the first 72 hours are on you. No cavalry, no rescue, just your own choices. Now let's get into the psychology of waiting. The hardest part of fallout survival isn't the math, it's the waiting, the silence, the uncertainty, the fear that every hour brings. The best way to fight it is with routine. Set a schedule. Eat, sleep, check your supplies, monitor the outside. Keep a journal, even if it's just a scrap of paper. Write down the time, the weather, anything you notice. This keeps your mind sharp and gives you a sense of control. In Chernobyl, survivors who kept busy, repairing, cleaning, and planning fared better than those who just waited. Hope is a weapon. Use it. But what if you're not alone? What if you have family, friends, or strangers with you? The math gets more complicated. More people means more needs, food, water, and space. But it also means more hands, more eyes, and more brains. Divide tasks, share information, and make decisions together. The biggest danger in a fallout scenario isn't radiation, it's panic, confusion, and bad choices. Stay calm, stay organized, and trust the math. Let's talk about water, because dehydration will kill you faster than radiation. If you have bottled water, ration it. If you have to use open water, let it sit so the fallout settles, then pour off the clear water from the top. Boiling won't remove radiation, but it will kill bacteria. If you have a filter, use it, but remember, most household filters won't catch radioactive particles. The best bet is to avoid open water if you can. According to the World Health Organization, even simple cloth filtration can reduce your risk, but it's not perfect. Now about food. Canned food is your best friend. Anything sealed before the blast is safe. Even if the outside is contaminated, just wipe it down before opening. Fresh food, especially anything grown outside, is risky for weeks or months. If you have to eat it, peel or wash it thoroughly, and avoid anything that looks dusty or dirty. In post-Chernobyl Ukraine, people who ate only stored food for the first month had dramatically lower radiation doses. Let's talk about long-term survival, because fallout isn't just a sprint, it's a marathon. Some isotopes, like iodine-131, decay quickly. Others, like cesium-137 and strontium-90, stick around for decades. The worst of the danger is over in a week, but the land can stay poisoned for years. If you have to live in a fallout zone, grow food in raised beds with clean soil, use covered water sources, and avoid eating wild mushrooms, berries, or game for at least a year. Animals and plants can concentrate radioactive particles, making them more dangerous than the soil itself. This is backed by studies from Chernobyl and Fukushima. But let's get back to the numbers, because this is where most people get it wrong. But if you're in a hot spot, those numbers can be much higher. The only way to know is to measure, to test, to trust the math and not your instincts. Radiation doesn't smell, doesn't sting, doesn't warn you. It just kills, quietly and efficiently. Let's talk about the types of radiation, because not all fallout is created equal. There are three main types: alpha particles, beta particles, and gamma rays. Alpha particles are big and slow. They can't even get through your skin. Beta particles are faster, but a layer of clothing or a few millimeters of plastic will stop them. Gamma rays are the real killers. They go through almost anything, and they're what make fallout so deadly. This is why shielding matters. The more mass, the less gamma gets through. This is also why you need to cover up. Clothing stops beta, but only mass stops gamma. But what about the long term? Let's say you survive the first week. The world outside is changed, maybe forever. The air is clearer, the birds are gone, and the silence is heavy. Fallout will settle, but the land will be scarred. If you have to rebuild, start with water. Test it, filter it, and store it. Then food. Grow what you can, hunt only if you have to, and always assume contamination. The math here is simple. The less you eat or drink from the fallout zone, the better your odds. But let's not forget the human factor. People are resilient, but they're also fragile. The stress, the fear, the uncertainty, it wears you down. The best way to survive is to stay busy, stay connected, and stay hopeful. Even in the darkest times, hope is a weapon. Use it. So to sum up, there is no magic number, no perfect distance, no absolute safety. Fallout is a game of odds, and the odds are never in your favor. But with knowledge, preparation, and a little luck, you can tip the scales. Get inside, stay inside, wait it out, and move only when you have to. Trust the math, not your instincts. Plan. Know where the nearest sturdy buildings are. Stock up on water, food, and basic supplies. Get a radiation meter, even a cheap one. Learn how to seal a room, how to decontaminate, how to stay calm. Practice with your family, your friends, and your neighbors. The more you prepare, the better your odds. And if the worst happens, remember the math. The first hour is the most dangerous. The first day is critical. The first week is survivable. Every hour you stay inside, every inch of shielding, every smart choice you make stacks the odds in your favor.